Welcome to Read Between the Wines, where two bibliophiles discuss our love of the written word from cover to cover and cork to glass. Pour yourself a beverage and join us for this week's episode. Cheers!
Welcome to the episode where we talk about books. Whee!
Copyright.
Trademarked.
Don't take that. It's hard. We'll have Addie sing it.
Called it.
Welcome to our new jingle. The last one was just not up to snuff.
I mean, speaking of snuff.
Right? I was going to say, speaking of snuff, we are talking about things that are very much up to snuff today. Yes. And I could talk about this topic for hours, but I won't because I like you all.
I mean, we'll try. We will try so hard to contain our excitement.
I won't.
And to not to, I just meant in like hours and hours talking thing.
Fine. I can
We'll
do that.
try to keep it contained.
Fair enough.
So,
where do we
without
start?
further ado, let's introduce. Hello. We're talking about fantasy.
And
Our favorite F word. Second favorite F word.
Recently, I think it is my favorite F word, honestly. And if fantasy is not something that I got into quickly. It wasn't one that I've been into for a long time.
I don't think you realized it. Did you love Beauty and the Beast?
That's not fantasy. That's a dream.
Tell me that
is a dream.
Fantasy. A bookie girl falls in love with headstrong, dominating man character who also happens to be a beast, who holds her captive, and she falls in love. Come on.
Yes, but I also feel like there are a lot of problems with that as a children's story.
I'm sure there is. However, is that not what you gravitate towards now?
It was literally my favorite Disney movie, so it's fine. Well, one of them, right?
Welcome to your adult obsession.
Now we're women who just read fantasy novels.
Fantasy.
About fairies.
Right. About the fae.
I will tell you, I have a limit.
Of what?
Number
that you'll read in a week?
The limit does not exist. The limit for me from a fantasy perspective, is, from a fantasy perspective, is that I love to enjoy it. I love to completely immerse myself in submerged.
Trademark.
That's gonna be a pin. I like to immerse myself in the world. I like to be part of it or whatever. But when I'm finished, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not one to yuck somebody else's yum, right?
Okay.
But I can't make one series my entire personality,
mm-hmm.
right? So your girl's a fan of tattoos, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of book tattoos. I'm working on my next one, the next one that I would like to get. And all of the inspiration I see is about one specific book right now, one specific series.
Yep.
And as much as I love that series, I can't.
It's not your entire personality.
No, but I have the Harry Potter conundrum. Because what if I had thrown myself completely into something like the Harry Potter, and then something comes out and ruins it for me? And now I have something stuck on my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Harry Potter's ruined. It's not my favorite series, so I don't have to worry about that. But I can't put the same thing of putting somebody's name on my body. I can't make it my whole thing because there are so many others to read.
Right.
And so I love
one series does not define you.
One series does not define me. And I mean, obviously I'm talking about ACOTAR in this case, right? I read it. You haven't read it yet.
I have not.
No, we talked about it.
The hype is it's too heavy.
I read it. I loved it. I love watching people read the first book and getting their opinions on the first book and being like, wait till you read the second. You're going to hate everything that you just learned.
It's kind of like, this smells terrible. Here, smell it.
Right. But it's one of those that it's a great series. I really enjoyed it. But I think that is what really kicked off my current fantasy obsession. Right. Okay. And Nora Roberts writes, and I think I've talked about her before. A lot of the things she writes, especially recently, are all very magical. So it has to do with 3 or 4 people. One is a seer, and we've talked to this. One is a seer. One is, one can, I don't know, move things. One can, put things together. And it's in Ireland. It's in Scotland.
I'm curious if this is I don't know how to nicely put this, but is this riding the fantasy wave that is like hitting the world right now?
Or, counterpoint, is it that people are just more open to enjoying things of this nature? So people are like, authors are more free to write about things that really light them up.
Yeah. Because
I want to think of it that way.
Yes. Because I am curious, and I don't know, when you are closed off to something, you don't see a whole lot. But if you, like, let's say, like, green cars, you don't see many of those until you're looking for a green car.
And then they're everywhere. Then everyone has a green car.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if fantasy is taking the world by storm on a Pegasus back, or if we're just more open to it now.
Right.
I'm so curious.
Either way, fantasy is my go-to genre right now.
You're a fantasy.
I'm a fan of fantasy. I think, between that and historical fiction, my shelves are booked.
So random. We've got historical fiction over here.
Right?
And fantasy over here. There is no in between for you.
Honestly, and those are the two genres that I'm like, yes.
You find yourself in.
Right? And I think because one helps me to escape and one helps me to feel. And I love
Which is which?
I escape in fantasy because you are usually not escaping in historical fiction because the things that I read are a little bit darker.
But what makes you feel in well, no, that's not this episode. That's not this episode.
We will do another one.
We'll talk about that.
Right,
later.
we'll do another one of those. But I think that those are the two genres that I'm in.
Okay.
And like I said, I have the limit of I can't make it my whole personality, but I definitely have opinions.
Yeah. So you read ACOTAR
and all the I had the whole ACOTAC.
I haven't yet. The hype worries me.
That's fair. You can't have mine anyways because I lent out my first book, so you have to wait.
That's fine. I started another series. I can't wait to get into this because I did finally start another series.
Me too.
So that's kind of what we're talking about today.
Okay, good. Tell me your series.
So no, you tell yours.
You go first. Okay, so I will because you and I kind of chatted over this earlier without being able to talk about it. So I picked up the other day at the store. I picked up I have to look at it because I literally read it in one day. Heather Fawcett's Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which is I picked it up purely because of the cover.
And this is hysterical because you picked this up the other day.
I bet 2 weeks ago maybe.
Yes.
Right? Like just weeks.
So if you know anything about us, Meg and I do not live close by. We don't live close together. We just visit and are able to do this.
Yes.
However, she picked up these books, like she said, 2 weeks ago. I had no idea. I have been talking to book girlies on book threads about book talk and Bookstagram, all the things, right? And this actually came up, and I forget who I was. I'm so sorry if it was you. She said that she read them, could read them over and over and over.
100%.
And I was like, ooh, tell me more. And it was these. And I pulled up the tab because I was like, okay, when I go to the bookstore, I want to remember this is so highly recommended, 10 out of 10, fully recommend. And when I got here, she's like, look what I just read.
Look at this. And when I tell you I just read it, I started it last night at 9:00. I finished it this morning before 10.
And I was totally going to tell you about it.
And I when I tell you, I slept a full 7 hours. I slept a full 7 hours in that time period.
Yes.
That's how quickly I read this book. And it was so cute and but I kept it going and I was like, what is literally going to happen? And it didn't feel forced or cookie cutter. It was just sweet.
Oh, I love those.
It was literally just sweet. And I was like, cool, because since I had this one, which is now yours.
Yeah.
Yay. Because I'm on the second one.
Also bought the second one.
So I'm on the second one. I'm already, good Lord, how far am I into this? I did things today.
A fourth of the way.
Yeah, I'm 70 pages in already. And and she has another one that comes out in February.
And that was the other thing. I thought they were all out. And they're not.
They're not.
So we're going to have to revisit in February. February 11th.
Right? February 11th. We're coming back. And this one is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. And the main character in this one is not giving, right?
It has the rough edges.
It has the rough edges. They both do. And they match.
Yes.
So please don't mess up the third. I need the third to look like this.
But I think it's blue. I think it's blue and it looks like this.
Pink? I think it might be pink.
Okay.
But I love that this is like, and it'll make more sense when you read it, so I'm not going to give it away, but the colors matter. And I will also tell you that the main character, the main female protagonist here, I love her. She's like a fairy belle. Right?
Yes.
And it's not a love story.
Okay.
Which is very cool as well.
Yeah.
So after we're done with this, I promise I will sleep tonight maybe, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to read this tomorrow too. Those are the ones that I'm in. Those are the ones I'm into like right now. There's another series that I need to figure out. I have to remember the title of it. I read it so many years ago, but it was a recommendation from a friend of mine. And there's probably like 6 different books in it. But it's also very like magical and like what your destiny, your destined power, and it has to do with like crystals and witchcraft and blah, blah, blah. Like it's a whole bunch of cool stuff. I need to find it and give it to you because that's also downstairs.
Interesting.
And I read it like years ago, but I still think about it often where I'm like, oh, that's the thing I liked. So
I love that.
I can't wait for you to read this one because I want to hear what you think.
Yes.
Because like I said, it is not, I won't tell you that it changed my life, but it definitely brought a frick ton of sunshine into my day. Like it was just sweet and felt good. And it was like a cute little cozy read.
I love that because I have to tell you, my favorite fantasy books are the cutesy, cozy, comfy witch books. I'm not on the dark, spicy fae side.
Right.
I love a good young adult fantasy.
That's fair.
Because you get the magic, you get the witchery, you get like the cutesy little like, I didn't know I was a witch and I was looking for my family because I was adopted and I didn't fit in and like I'm coming into my magic and like this whole stuff. So I'm very excited.
That's very cute because that's not ACOTAR and that's not Crescent City, right? And I have the first 4 books of Throne of Glass, which is also Sarah J. Maas's one of her series. I haven't finished Crescent City because it's very big, and for some reason I want to like invest time, so I have to sit there and read a good chunk. I mean, I want to read a book that is this thickness within the fact of like that book because it's so big, so I have to give that one time. And then Throne of Glass, I am under the foreign terrible impression that I need to have all of the books so I can just fly through them, and I don't want to buy them all at once. And so I'm kind of trying to find them, so I have the first 4. I'm working on it, and then I will start it because I don't know why. I just feel like I have to do that because what if I get through the 4th one and I need the 5th?
Just in case. Yeah, you'd be too far in at that point.
And then what if it's 11 p.m. and I want to pick up? I'm horrible for that. I will finish a book at like 1 a.m. and then all of a sudden I'm like, but I can read and I just want to read the first chapter of the next book. And I'll read just one.
Just got to continue.
But I just need to know that it keeps going. And so that's why I have to fix that one. So
I actually did pick up Throne of Glass. I found it at my used bookstore. I love a used book, and I did find it, and I was like, before I really knew, I almost went into strawberry.
Look,
strawberry. And so I thought, oh well, these are like she's all the rage right now, and like this is the thing. And I got that one, and I was like, what am I gonna do with one book?
That's what I'm saying.
I ain't doing nothing,
especially if that size. Like it's a normal sized book, which is great. We love a good normie, but I need the next one.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to step into that world. And if I have to read names and it's like, right here, sure. In my head, that's how I read it. Like, I'm not sounding it out. It's got 3 syllables. Like, I'm just...
I love when they give them nicknames inside the book.
I'm like, I'm just naming you something else, and that's what we're calling you Richard. Like, we're just moving on. But yeah, so I'm in the shallow end of fantasy right now.
Nice.
Because I love them. They make you feel good. They're easier reads. You're not really like emotionally invested. They are more on the feel good side.
I'm always emotionally invested.
I mean, but like not like your heart is being ripped out of your chest and like you're feeling all the things and like, you know.
And all of a sudden I need to like I I will tell you, fantasy.
Shower and a drink.
I won't say it all the time, but most fantasy books don't give me a book hangover.
Yeah.
A series of books gives me a book hangover.
Yeah.
Like when I finish the book series, book hangover for days where I'm upset that it's over and I feel like I'm mourning the loss of my friends. I won't get a book hangover from it. Right? I love that I didn't get one from here, and it may be because I have another one.
Yes.
And I have another one coming. Like I want the third one, but I didn't sit there like, oh, no, I have to mourn the loss of these characters.
Yes.
I don't feel like fantasy does that to me often.
No. And that's why I do like the YA fantasy, because I do feel like it's almost very beach read.
Okay.
Like it's light and easy and you can fly through it, and it's a cutesy, cozy story. And like I said, it's the magic. I've recently read Remedial Magic, and it was super cute.
I haven't read that
one.
And
the cover is fantastic. And it, you know, it was very like, there's this secret witch town, and they can't mix with normal people.
Right.
Because of witch hunts and all of this. And so, but people's magic doesn't show up until they're in a life or death situation.
Oh.
And so there's these people who have gone missing, and this one girl is trying, like her grandmother disappeared and then came back, and she has no explanation. So now she's obsessed with all these, like keeping stories of all these people who are missing.
As one would.
And she's like, I want to live a plain life. I want to be boring. I don't want to be taken. Like this whole thing, she's starting to figure it out. And then something happens.
Oh.
And she ends up exactly where she's been trying not to be. And then she's like starting to realize like she's like prophetic.
Ah.
And people have been waiting for her. And she
We
has not realized it.
Yeah. Her potential is being unlocked.
Such a good book. I did not realize it when I picked it up. It's a series.
Okay.
But it could be a standalone. Like they ended it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I gave it 4 out of 5 stars was because I didn't love the way that it ended.
Okay.
It just ended.
Okay.
And I didn't feel like that was a good enough ending for the journey that we had been on.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But that's my only hangover. Was just like,
it could have been wrapped up in a bigger bow.
Ended a little better since the story was so good.
Do you think that the ending was like that because of the series?
No.
Okay.
It's not something that... From this point in time, it doesn't feel like I could forgive the way it ended.
Okay.
I don't know that we could...
We ain't coming back from this.
I don't think we can make anything nice. It's still going to piss me off.
All right. So are you going to read the rest of the series?
If I stumble upon it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm good. Like, that feels like a good...
Like, you're okay if you never find the other book.
Yeah. Not a super big cliffhanger. Like I said, it could be a standalone if you wanted it to be. And I also recently read Not Your Crush's Cauldron. Super cutesy.
I think I remember seeing the cover of that on one of your things. I'm closing my eyes because I was like, I'm pretty sure I saw it. I'm pretty sure the cover's super cute.
It is.
Because I remember looking at it and being like, ooh.
It is super
cute. That
cute.
looks fun.
It is a super cutesy book. Like I said, cutesy, comfy witchery. It's about 3 witch sisters. They're triplets. The grandmother is like, they call her the prima. She's like the head witch. And she's like training, and it's like this whole story. And what I realized when I read it, and it should have clued me in, because the intro of all the characters in the book, so quick.
Oh.
And I was like, that was a little fast for me to figure out who these people are. And like keep names and faces like in my head.
Right.
And then when I finished, I realized it was the 3rd book. There was a book about each sister.
Oh.
So it could be read as a standalone.
Right.
Not a problem.
But there were others.
But if I had read 1 and 2,
you would have known.
I would have already known. And that's why there was such a quick gloss over of who the characters were. Because if you had read the series, you would know them.
Okay. That makes more sense.
But also...
Because I was like, how do you not develop your characters?
Right.
Said from someone who's not a writer, honestly.
Yeah.
I have so many opinions for a person who doesn't write books. And I know that.
Right.
I have plenty of book ideas in this mess of a brain, But have I yet gotten one on paper? No. Will I ever? Maybe not. But I have many opinions. I think it's kind of like a critic who doesn't cook. Right? Like a food critic who doesn't cook things. I don't know where I have the audacity, but it's in one of my pockets.
And here we are.
And here we sit with our opinions.
Yes.
Right?
But yeah, so that's what I'm really into. And I feel like this is the perfect time of year.
Oh, 100%.
Like the holidays.
And for me, I love getting cozy when I read a cozy book. So like big blanket, comfy clothes, big chair. And I will even go so far as to like throw the TV on and like pull up YouTube and
Crackle fireplace.
Right? Or just there's like a fall ambiance, whatever, and it'll go for like 8 hours. There's one for that. There's one that literally looks like a cute little cozy witch's cabin. And like it's that, and it's just like sounds of the outside and like fall noise or whatever. And I'm like, yes, give me all of this stuff.
Yes,
I don't care. It can be 80 degrees outside because where I live, it's 80 degrees today and it's still flipping fall. I don't care. Give me the cozy. I'm in.
Yes.
I will happily sit and read.
Yes.
Happily sit and read. And especially for a fantasy. Now, are there fantasy books that I don't like? Yes. Will we get to them eventually? Yes.
Yes.
Probably very soon.
It's what we do.
We give equal attention to the things we like as well as the things that we don't like. And I think for me, I have a fair amount of opinions on that too. But I think there's so many more that I like.
Yes.
For me, because I like the genre so much, it's so much easier to like all of them.
Yes.
Or at least find something redeeming.
Yeah. And you won't know until you get into it.
Until you get to the end for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that happens. And I think in the realm of fantasy, there is not a bar of where you can and cannot stand. And so literally anything is possible. And because of that, I will tell you, I have finished every fantasy book I've started.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen in the end.
Yes.
You don't know. And I'm like, I'm going to do my best. Because you know what? Something really kooky could show up.
And you really have to read the entire book because the fantasy rules are so broad. Mm-hmm. Like, if you've ever read a book with time travel in it, not all of them are the same. Like, there are different... Oh, that reminds me. There are so many different rules. I just read one about time travel.
Okay.
It was called Before the Coffee Gets Cold.
Okay.
And I did not realize that it was a time travel book.
I don't think I've ever picked up a time travel book to read knowing it was a time travel book.
No.
For some reason, I'm blind to time travel books and just pick them up. I'm like, oh, we are jumping timelines here.
Time travel blows my mind.
Right?
Like, there are so many,
That seems more science fiction
rules?
than fantasy to me.
Yeah. Yes, but think about, Doctor Who. Very fantasy. Science. Yeah. Science fantasy?
Scientasy?
Scientasy?
Scientasy.
Trademark. I think we just started a new religion.
Nope, don't say that. This is not a cult. This is not a cult. Stay in your own homes. And don't ever take Kool-Aid from people.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. But wine is fine.
Wine is fine. Wine is fine.
Mine is fine. I'm going to point something out about this book that I forgot to tell you.
Yes.
Because I know how you are about footnotes and italicized words.
Read them.
There are footnotes in this, and some of them take up half a page.
Who does that?
But you can skip them if you want.
Oh, okay.
They will add to it if you would like them to, but it is not imperative to the story.
Okay.
Okay. Because I know there's one page in there that's like half the page is a footnote, and I was like, she's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. I was sitting here and I was like, I might have to sign my death sentence. Let me tell her first. There's your warning.
Let me warn you.
Yes, but it does make it very, because the book is written as an encyclopedia. Almost.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to
give it a
try.
try.
Put it in there. I had to put it in there so that I didn't get in trouble later when you were like, why the hell did we miss half a page of writing in this book?
You might have forgotten.
You know, it happens.
I need to bring you Before the Coffee Gets Cold.
I will read it.
You need to read this. It is a very small book.
Oh, perfect.
It is very small. It is very
That's like
short.
a doctor's office visit book.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes. And it's about time travel. And the rules that they implemented did not seem like anything would be possible. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And then there's...
Before the Coffee Gets Cold.
It's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold. There are several stories. It's all a continuous story, but it's several individual stories. And after I read it, I made Greg read it.
Okay.
Because I was like... Actually, he bought it. It was his book.
He picked it. I previewed it.
And I was like, oh, this looks great. And I read it in a day.
Okay.
And I was like, you have to read this book because I want to talk about it. Like, I need to talk to somebody about it. So I made him read it. He read it in a day. Perfect. And then we found out that it was they also made a Netflix movie.
Oh.
And we were like, there's no way they captured... Like, I am crying alligator tears. They are massive. I am ugly boo-hooing. It hit me right in the feels.
Okay.
And I look over and he's like crying in the same places that I would expect that I was. And then we find out that they did a Netflix movie and we're like, there's no way they captured
that
like
feeling.
The emotion and the stories right.
Did you watch it?
We pulled up the trailer because we couldn't find the movie itself.
Okay.
It wasn't available anymore. But we pulled up the trailer. Both of us crying.
At the trailer?
At the trailer.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay, well.
So we're also going to look for the movie.
Right.
Because it's the good kind of like kick you in the feels.
Oh, sometimes you need that. I have a series of movies that I have 3 different movies that I watch. They are not at all related. I don't think. Kind of, but only because there's the same actress in 2 of them. But it's a set of 3 movies that I watch when I like feel stifled and my body's like, you need to cry. And I'm like, but I don't want to. If I watch these 3 movies, I will sob like a baby and then I will feel much better afterwards.
That's a good release.
Right?
Like,
and it's
sometimes
healthy.
Just need a feel good.
Right? Sometimes you just
a
little
cry.
A little help along that side.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I don't cry a lot at fantasy though.
No.
Fantasy's not a cry one. I will cry. Wait. Maybe I will. Now and then, right? If it's something really good or something like crazy happens where I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt that. But usually fantasy does not make me cry, which is nice. I think that's also why it's so safe.
Right? Right. I don't have to feel when I read fantasy, but it's imaginative and you are using more of your head and your imagination than your heart and your feels.
And I will tell you, I'm really bad at creating an image of characters in my brain, especially for fantasy, because I'm like, I see what you're saying. Like you're talking about the Fae and the courtly Fae and how they're, regal and elegant and blah, blah, blah. And also I'm like, okay, so it's just like a tall, skinny, pretty guy,
right?
Like, what am I looking at here? And so it just, my brain will fill in things that it needs to fill in, but I'm not. And then they're like, oh, he's also, got black hair. And I'm like, did he?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't.
In my head.
And they're like, oh, well, when I run my fingers through his hair, I'm like, why are you doing that?
Does
he have hair? Like,
I didn't realize it was long enough to do that.
Right?
Okay.
Like, what is happening here? So there are certain details that my body's like, maybe not that one.
Yeah.
You don't need that. And it honestly does not change my enjoyment of the story at all.
So I'll actually tell you that's one of that goes into my pet peeve list of fantasies. We'll talk about that when we get to. Okay.
All right, fine. Well, we need to get to that quick because I want to hear. Now I want to know.
Yes.
Now tell me the things. So
I'm curious if you're riding the fantasy wave with us, if you've been in the fantasy genre for a while, if you're off in the deep end. I mean, there's like so much space. There's so much breadth and depth to the fantasy realm. Like, I'm so curious.
We're clearly in like the magic fairy witch side of things, and not because we dislike the other things. It's just not a lot that I see or that I've read. There is an entire series. I believe it's the Sookie Stackhouse series. That is.
You have to read that.
It's sitting downstairs. It was gifted to me. Thank you. And I'm not reading it because I don't like it. It's just that's a lot of books, and I will get to them. It
does look a little overwhelming, but I will tell you.
But also, they're very pretty because they're rainbow colored.
You will fly through them.
Oh, I know I will. I just haven't gotten
there.
They are
so like, good.
But honestly, this may be a really great time of year to do that.
Yes.
To just kind of like kick through them.
Yes.
So it's there. It's on my list, but I know that's more vampiric than.
It's a little bit of everything.
Right? So I think that'll be a little bit of a darker space for me.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
So, yeah, definitely let us know what you're reading. Let us know what we should be reading next. Like, what's really good that maybe isn't hugely mainstream.
We need to make like a requested or like a suggested TBR list somewhere.
Right.
We need that. Maybe that's a Threads thing.
It has been. I'm building a list.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Awesome.
Well, we'll see you on the next one where we talk a little bit about the things in the fantasy world that do not tickle our fancy.
They do not tickle our fantasy.
They do not tickle our fantasy. But until then, cheers.
Cheers.
It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine. Also, if you're the review type person, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us an honest review on your favorite podcast player. Or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!